Okay. No. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this morning. And I'm going to be the first one from this council to say Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Obviously, this will be our last meeting. We don't plan on calling any special meetings, do we, Jamie, between now and the 25th?
I don't.
Okay, good. I don't either. So that's it. This will be our last meeting. So welcome to everybody. If you could rise, we'll take a moment of reflection before we start anything else. Declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. Does anyone have? Oh boy. Hands flying on this side. I'll start with Mr. Forster. Scott?
All right, so mine is on agenda item 10.1.2 under correspondence. Newstead Recreation or Newstead Agriculture Society requests for donation as I am a member and the current president.
Very good. Yep. Deputy Mayor Tom.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and I will declare an interest on item 4 on today's agenda, 4.4 in particular, the delegation from Karen Cox, South Grey Chamber of Commerce, the current Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce, and I will be moving forward on the new board. And I do see that there's a request for an MOU from Council, so I will declare an interest at that. Thank you.
Tom? Anybody else? We seem to be missing a couple of councillors. Oh, we've got Doug on the screen. Okay. I was just thinking there's a bit of weather out there. Is it really just in town in Durham where the roads are bad? Ayton, Bentic, we've all got here. Just wondered about you guys.
I have a long way to drive.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, I just thought hopefully I can hang in there for the meeting. I haven't been feeling too well, so I'm here virtually.
Well, thank you, and good for using the technology. And just in saying that, I did see Mr. Shea come across the landing. So by the time he gets his coat and his boots off, he'll be here shortly. So very good. With that, using the Zoom, Cody, can you just give us a slight update on anybody that's out there, how they're going to, or will they be able to use Zoom for today's meeting?
Absolutely, and through you, Mr. Mayor, both members of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hands physically to speak. If you get disconnected at any point during the meeting, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the meeting ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Cody. Very good. We have just a slight little deviation. Usually we have a maximum of 3 delegations, but we're blessed today to have 4. In starting, we have Clark Little from the Ontario Pump Storage, TC Energy, an energy project up in the Meaford area by the Land Force Training Center. So yes, if you want us to hear and you want everybody else to hear, I'm going to have to ask you to come to the table, Clark, and use that microphone. Welcome this morning, Clark.
Well, thank you very much, Your Worship. And I would just like to thank you and say hello to the Deputy Mayor, the councillors, the staff that are here, the support staff, and those of you in the gallery. Very happy to be here today to give you an update on the Ontario Pump Storage Project. Am I close enough to the mic to be heard? Okay. Perfect. So my name is Clark Little, and Merry Christmas to you all too. I just drove across from Meaford, and I have to tell you, it's white. And the only thing I didn't see were reindeer, but I'm looking forward to it because NORAD should start tracking them anytime now as they start coming across the North Pole. It's a wonderful time of the year. So as I said, my name is Clark Little. I live in near Meaford, Ontario. I am an employee of TransCanada Energy. And today I'm here very happy to give you a very brief update on our project, what it is, why we're doing it, why it's necessary, we feel, and give you a little update in 10 minutes or less, the elevator speech. So I'll get started with it now. And Cody, you'll just change the slides for me. Thanks. Next slide, please. So what is the Ontario Pump Storage Project? The first thing I'd like to say to you is it's storage. It stores electricity, not in electrical volts or so on. I'll explain that in a minute. But it's designed to be a reliable and a sustainable source of power. But I have to differentiate it between the big producers of Bruce Power and hydropower. It is not a producer of power. It simply stores power and then puts it back on the grid. So the concept has been around for about 100 years in Europe, a little over 100 years. And the concept is at nighttime when there is surplus power on the grid, and there is every night of every day of every year, there is power on the grid, which is essentially sold at cost, sold at very low margin, or absolutely or shorted to ground because it can't be used. In this day and age, wasting power like that just doesn't make any sense. So this system has been designed to use some of the surplus power at night to pump water uphill, store it overnight, and then the next day when you need the power on the grid, we release the water from the reservoir, and the water comes downhill and generates power. So we generate and exchange 8,000 megawatts of power a day. That is enough to power about 1 million homes, depending on the size and so on. So it's a sizable chunk of electricity that we are saving from being wasted. It also has a side effect of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and it's kind of a bank shot. It's a secondary concept. The next day when we use this stored hydropower, the gas plants do not have to produce as much power as they would otherwise. So we offset the gas plant usage the following day to the amount of power that we put back on the grid. And by doing so, we reduce the greenhouse gases being put into the atmosphere from the gas plants. Next slide, please. I like the window on the left to reuse and reduce. We take power that's surplus and we reuse it the next day. And the top rate, 500,000 tons per year, is an estimate, and that's all gained from gas plants rolling back the next day when we put this power back on the grid. Next slide, please. So here's a cross section of it, and I won't apologize for it. I'll just say it may be hard to see it, but that kidney-shaped item up there on the top of the escarpment is the reservoir that has to be constructed. The little settlement behind that is the base infrastructure at the military base in Meaford. And if you look closely at the cross section, the diagonal there, or the cut, you'll see that all the infrastructure is underground with the exception of the reservoir itself. Next slide, please. That's where it is. Red circle is essentially the Meaford Range. It's a federal piece of land owned by the Army. I say owned by the Army or by the federal government. And on the right side, you can see the range itself outlined in red, and then the kidney shape and the pipes underground and the inlet-outlet structure stretching into the bay. That little settlement to the bottom right of that is the town of Meaford. And that's Highway 26 coming out of Meaford going toward Owen Sound, just to situate you a little bit. Next slide, please. So we took great notice of both the local people, the residents, as well as the indigenous groups locally. And the project was redesigned about 2 years ago. And one of the major redesign efforts was to move the power from the range, which is the top left of that diagram, underwater in cables to a little strip of land between Wasaga Beach and Collingwood. We essentially move all the power underground until it comes above ground at Stayner Transmission and then joins the grid back to service the grid in general throughout all of Ontario, but mostly the GTA. This innovation was totally minimizes the optics. So we are not using any new towers, the big steel towers. We're not stringing lines across the Niagara Escarpment and down through the populated areas toward Collingwood and Barrie. This is all going underwater and underground. I just point out that from the point it reaches land, it is going underground to Steiner and then above ground to existing towers. Next slide, please. Here's the cross section. We call it designing in the public eye because without the public's input, this design may not have been actively pursued. We got a lot of input about the original design. And this design now has been built specifically to protect fish in the water in Georgian Bay. From the right to the left, the reservoir at the top, you can see the structure underneath. We call it the power generator house, the underground, better put my glasses on here, I'll be in serious trouble. Underground cavern. The water falls 500 feet straight from the reservoir into the power generation house, 500 feet below. That is mined out of the rock of the Niagara Escarpment. Similarly, those tunnels that extend from the power generation house into the water are underground. They're mined underground, and they stay underground as they enter the bay, as they move under the bay. I'll get into a couple of diagrams here that give a little more detail to that. The reason we did this is to first protect the fish in water. I'll explain how that happens, but also to preserve the optics, to preserve the the pristineness of the escarpment, even though it's on federal land, to make sure that that part of the escarpment is pristine for the rest of the time, with the exception of the new pond at the top, which I'll just say you can only see if you fly over it, which you shouldn't do. Next slide, please. So here's the secret to what we're doing. These are the inlet outlet ports. They are connected. This is a diagram. The water is almost this clear. There's 20 of them. They form a large semicircular arc. There we go. Just needed a pause. Yeah, we could certainly use it now, right? So the secret here is these are large structures. They're located about 30 feet off the bottom. They're probably 20 or 30 feet high and wide, about 20 feet roughly. They're screened. There's 20 of them, and they're capped. So the secret here, and this is the design secret that's so important, is that the velocity of the water either being either being drawn in or released is less than 1 kilometer per hour, which is exactly the same as the natural current in the area in the bay at that point. So if you think for preserving fish, they're not suddenly trapped by a huge hoovering of water up into a large tunnel. They would deal with perhaps a slow change to another current of about the same speed. And the biologists tell us that the fish, even the small ones, if they are in the water column at that height, will be easily able to move away from this if they sense it to be dangerous or not consistent with their normal environment. Some people have asked me, well, how can you have water falling 500 feet like Niagara Falls, especially the volume that's falling, come out of these things at 1 kilometer an hour? Some of you will remember the concept of a soaker hose. When I was a kid, my mother used to send me outside and say, put the soaker hose on the tomatoes. And I'd go out and I'd turn the tap on, and all the power from all of the water from the household system would actually dig a hole in the dirt. And I'd attach the soaker hose, and the water would, down the hose, all the way down the hose, would seep out of it. It always was a mystery to me how that worked. Probably what got me into engineering in the first place, wondering what happened. But it's a soaker hose on steroids. It's the same concept. Next slide, please. So here's a tunnel that was built in Toronto, the same size as the tunnel we're going to have, probably constructed by the same company. On the right, This is the 30-foot diameter roughly, and through which at the moment on the right, there's people and there's vehicles and there's trains and or on rail transportation, and there's electrical cables. When it's finished, that stuff will be stripped out and this will be filled with water. It's a continuous loop that comes out and comes all the way around the circle and back up into the powerhouse and up into the reservoir. On the left side, you see a small miniature rail line, which is responsible for upon which they move these concrete liners. These liners are attached to the walls once the tunnel is mined. Next slide, please. This is what it looks like offshore when they're going through this process. This is from Toronto. The two items on the right are actually inlet outlet ports that are being installed without disturbing the water around them, the way it's designed. And that platform moves with the construction as it moves around, in this case, a straight line from Asperger's Bay into Lake Ontario, which gives you an idea of what's going to be in the water when we start constructing the underwater system. Next slide. Timelines. The green arrow at the bottom is where we are, sort of teetering on 2023. Our environmental impact assessment process will start formally in the next 3 months, roughly, plus or minus 1 or 2 or something, but it's coming. And the environmental assessment will last until 2025. And we're planning on operation by 2030. So 4 years of construction, 4.5 after the environmental assessment process. So we're very early days in this. Next slide, please. So this illustrates, these companies on the right are potential suppliers located in Ontario. This is a made in Ontario project. We're not importing exotic electrical solar panels from China. The supply chain is mostly Canadian or American, and it's 80% in Ontario. Those are the logos of some of the companies that have the skills and the background and the engineering and the technology to actually participate in the construction of this facility. One of those companies on the bottom of the Lake Superior part of the map, Makwakehilo, is in Owen Sound, and they are already on contract with us through early contractor engagement. Those two circles are complicated, but the bottom line is in goods and services. So what happens is the CapEx of this program is $4.5 billion, roughly, probably escalated, but 4.5 is the last public figure we have. And of that, $2 billion is going to cascade from the CapEx into the 3 counties of Grey, Bruce, and Simcoe. This is very similar to what happened when the Bruce Power started to refurbish the reactors. It's the same CapEx, $4.5 billion, except it included Huron County and Bruce and Grey. And we anticipate the same is going to happen when we start constructing this project. Durham is located exactly halfway between ourselves and Bruce Power, between that facility and Bruce Power. And we anticipate that from skilled workforce and for people who are going to be working on the project in Meaford, some of them are going to be coming from here. Some of them live here or around this area to Hanover, go to Bruce Power. Actually, we have people in Meaford that go to Bruce Power. But we anticipate a lot of transition and a transient workforce to help us build this. The numbers are a little gray at the moment. We think around 800 people at the peak of construction, additional skilled workers. But how many are living in, how many are transiting and how many are going to be living in accommodation, we still don't have a really hard handle on yet. And we're working on it. So the economic development from this, especially in Meaford area and around to the east of Owen Sound and south, is a generational project, which the likes of which has never come to that part of the country and will likely not come again, certainly in my lifetime, but certainly in generations. So it really is an economic development opportunity that can't be missed. Next slide, please. Here's a couple of the people who are actively engaged now. Georgian College is involved with us at the moment. Talked about Makwakehilo. Next slide, please. And here are people that have given us support. Some of them are environmental organizations. Chambers of Commerce in Ontario has given us verbal support. LIUNA is really firmly behind us, as most of the unions are. Next slide, please. Pollution Probe and Swim, Drink and Fish, two of our environmental NGOs are very, very excited about the project and are watching it closely. They're interested in what we've done to protect fish. And I will go back and say that that design is novel in the sense that nobody else in the world who is doing mass exchange of water from bodies of water has used this technique to preserve fish, protect fish and protect water. So we're pretty proud of that. And I'm very optimistic that the environmental assessment will prove out our engineering projections with respect to the environment and the water. Next slide, please. So that's a lot of information in a very short amount of time, and there's a lot of technical information behind it. But I wanted you to be aware of it. It's coming, and during the impact assessment, there'll be a chance to contribute to that cause by putting, if you wish, to put in some comments about your feelings about it as a municipality. Would welcome you to do that. We are going to be asking you about potential economic businesses in town who might be interested. We're going to hopefully work through your staff and the businesses to bring the notice of this coming to the businesses. And we were going to continue our engagement with the people. We focused mainly now until this point around Meaford and Owen Sound, and we're spreading our wings and getting out to the other municipalities inside the three counties of Simcoe, Grey, and Bruce. That concludes my formal briefing. I'm not sure what the protocol is. I'm free to answer questions if you wish. If you have time, I leave it entirely to you, Your Honor. Worship.
The project of this size and capacity and advanced technology, I'm almost scared to start asking, to look at council and say, do we ask questions? Because we might be here until tomorrow if we get really engaged. But I would ask if somebody has a short question or whatnot, as we are kind of under a time restraint. So I
fully understand. If you have questions, you want to know more about it, there are some contact points to do that. We do have, if you're ever up in the Meaford area after Christmas, we're shut them down. We do have coffee chats every Thursday in our office. Feel free, if you're shopping up in Meaford or just traveling through, to drop in at 10:30 in the morning or 1:30 in the afternoon, and we'll be able to have a 2-hour chat about it in detail. So we're looking forward to comments from councils, from the residents, from the region. So yes.
and maybe our local chamber of commerce, or somebody like that,
Yes.
just happens to be here today
Yes.
to take this in. With that, thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you very much.
It's an exciting time, and certainly how we can be, I think, not only to the staff's perspective, but behoove council to stay involved with this as well too, and see how it's not only it'll affect our community and at large, but also our municipality, how we can participate and go forward with this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Little. Okay. Amy Moyes and Big Bites Food Truck. Amy. Okay. Apparently he's delegated you, Amy. You're on your own. He's going to.
Yeah, we'll just leave. Good morning. My name is
Morning,
Amy
Amy.
Moyes, and my husband Jesse and I own Big Bites Food Truck. We started January 2020, and I've been here once since then. We're asking for a bylaw amendment for the mobile food premises that would include our food truck. We pay $300 a year for our West Grey permit, and we would like to be able to move around in West Grey without having to come in, do an amendment, pay $100, pay $50, pay this, that, and next thing to West Grey when we already pay $300 a year to be in West Grey. So as of right now, we park at the car wash in Durham. We have permission from the landowner we get our permit, which is coming in renewal in February. And we would just like to make it so that if we want to do the Family Day celebration, which we did this year, we don't have to come in and pay $100 and get it amended. We did the 8-ball tournament, another $100. We were going to do homecoming, but you know, another $100 just to move down the street. So we're just asking if perhaps maybe we can amend the bylaw so that we just pay our $300 and that would cover all of West Gray. And I know that for the Family Day, I came in, asked permission to be there on West Gray land just because it was the West Gray land. So for stuff like that, we would still ask permission to be parked on West Gray land, but we just don't want to have to continuously pay to do the events in West Gray. And that's all I have.
Thank you for that. I'm going to say this, I hope I don't get too far off here. Certainly something that we can look forward to at a budget time.
Okay.
You know, and I think it will come up through our fees and charges bylaw, certainly as I said. And I will say this on behalf of council. Yes, we will look at it.
Okay.
Your food truck runs 52 weeks of the year?
Well, we'll be open New Year's Eve. We'll be open for Super Bowl, provided like I have to renew, and it kind of, with all the changes happening in council and with the clerks and everything, hopefully get it before Super Bowls, but normally we are. But yeah, we open regularly in Durham.
Yeah.
Provided that nothing is frozen. But the last time I was here, we had Mark as a clerk, and he was from Owen Sound, and he was trying to put together an Owen Sound, like look at Owen Sound's bylaw. We paid $150 in Owen Sound. We can park anywhere we want, and it's a one-time fee. So he was kind of just trying to base that, and then he just disappeared.
He just took the inopportune time to retire.
Yes.
Shame
Yes.
on Mark. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, we're just trying to save a little bit of money because we're a little food truck, and we also donate. So some of that money that we are paying West Gray could have been donated to like Toy Drive and this, that, and next thing.
Deputy Mayor. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Just, and thank you for your delegation. Just a quick question. When is your renewal?
It is February. It comes up in February. So our clerk will see my application come through in January, hopefully to get it by February.
Any other questions at this time? Jeffrey, Councillor Shea.
Thank you, Mayor. Maybe we should ask our current clerk to look at comparable bylaws in places like, say, Owen Sound, just so we've got some data when we do revisit this early in the new year.
Want to accept that, Shannon?
Through Mayor to members of council, that's certainly something that I can look into moving forward.
Very good. Thank you, Amy. And yeah, I think you've got the attention of council. And as I said, we will be looking at it, going through and checking up that on it. Your timing, I think, is right for us to be looking at that through the fees and charges bylaw and moving this forward, going through the budgeting process. So we'll leave it in Jamie's capable hands and be given direction through that.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
And thank you for what your business brings to the municipality.
Thank you.
Good.
Merry
Thanks,
Christmas.
Jess. Merry Christmas. Okay. Moving along, Brian Carr, Special Olympics Ontario, South Saugeen. Mr. Carr. And the chair's there. You don't, I see the first presenters have stood up. If you want to sit down, feel free.
No, it just takes longer to get back up again. So,
Okay, Brian, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll leave it
sir.
to you. No
Uh,
problem.
congratulations on your election and Merry Christmas. I believe you guys saw the letter that we presented or sent in. So I'm just here to see if there's any questions on the letter that was presented to you and if there's any other feedback for it.
Ask council, is there any questions, comments on that? What the request is? Deputy Mayor Tom. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Through you to Madam CAO. Does this fall under our grants organizations? If you may, please.
Through Mayor Eccleston to Deputy Mayor, thank you for the question. This would qualify as a grant organizations. If council wanted to go that route, we could allocate the value of this in-kind donation to that fund. Council will need to deal with that budget line through the budget, which we will be doing early in January. So that is an option.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. And just one other question that comes to mind is the storage of the mats and whatnot. I'm quite curious about insurance and how that would unfold and what that looks like. I'm not sure if Madam CEO can help me with that one again. Sorry, put you on the spot, but just a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to maybe ask Mr. Hewlett to jump in here when it comes to that sort of arrangement. And the other thing that I would like to point out for council is that I believe, Mr. Carr, the group has started using some ice time already. So,
Yes.
so to wait until we pass our budget in February, perhaps, might be a little long for you
Yeah,
to
so
wait.
We've started skating. This is a qualifying year for the National Games in Calgary. So in order for our athletes to qualify to go to Calgary, they have to go to a competition. We were supposed to go to one in London on December 10th, but because we didn't get on the ice till December 7th, we felt they weren't ready. So there's one more competition in Barrie in the end of February, and then the qualifiers are in Kitchener in March. So we had to get on the ice. As for the mats, there is a bit of a time crunch. The gentleman that's been storing them free of charge for the last 5 or 6 years has sold his business, and we have to have them out of there by the 2nd of January. So we have offered to pay any costs that are involved with, I guess the rink manager would asking for a cage to go around the mats for safety. We have offered to pay for the cage and to have it installed. And if there are any insurance costs, we'd be happy to help out with them, if not pay them. We are a nonprofit. We have a small presence in West Grey, but we are hoping to grow it. I've been volunteering with Special Olympics for over 25 years. We've tried before to have a presence in West Grey, but because the facilities aren't always available, it's hard to get here into the community. But we do have athletes besides my daughter that does participate with Special Olympics.
Excellent. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, can you hear me there?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm not sure if you're seeing my video, seems to be a little wonky for some reason.
Just your voice we need, and that's working.
My question to Brian is the mats, it says they're 4 feet by 12 by 10, and there's 30 of them now. Is that 30 times that measurement, or is that the total measurement of those mats?
Each mat is approximately 4 by 10 and 12 inches thick. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, so I think one time I calculated something like 1,500 square feet or something that those mats are going to cover. I just wondered if our arena manager realizes the size. I'm not sure where they're going to put them, but there's a lot of mats there, right?
We were storing them in Walkerton at the arena there in a space, say maybe 12 by 20. We do stack them 10 high, so they don't take a lot of room. We've looked at it, we've measured it, and they should fit in the area that in the arena that we've asked for. So, or that Tom suggested.
Okay, and then my other question is, so you're asking for an hour of ice time, I believe, or maybe it's longer than that. I just don't see it right now, but how much time of that is like setup? Is that including the setup time? Because to get those mats out and set up will take a little bit of time, right?
So we typically use the ice for 50 minutes. It takes us, we'll show up a few minutes early with volunteers and get the mats on the ice, and then the athletes themselves will place them where they belong. Like I said, a little bit more skating, and it takes us 5 or 6 minutes to get the mats off the ice so the next user group behind us can use it. And then once we have them off, we stack them up safely so that they're ready for next time. But it takes us no more than 5 minutes to get them on and about 5 minutes to get them off. So, and we adjust our training time so that we're not interfering with any of the user groups.
Right. Okay. And my final question is just, my concern was before is precedent setting, and that, you know, we traditionally don't give free use of facilities to groups. We usually do a donation or whatever. So I think Deputy Mayor had mentioned something about looking at it when it comes to, though I guess time's a bit of a time factor here, but anyways, it does set a bit of a precedent in that if, you know, we give them free ice to you guys, are we going to do that for other groups? So that's my biggest concern. So thank you.
Jeffrey, Councillor Shea. Go ahead.
It seems that the main concern is the storage of the mats, that the ice time cost is not a tremendous concern from my understanding of the letter. If Tom and staff think that there is sufficient storage space, I don't know why council would have any objection. I wonder if we could just leave this to staff to work out an arrangement for the storage of the mats. Would that be appropriate, CEO Johnston?
Through Mr. Mayor, yes, Councillor Shea, we can, that operationally we can work with Mr. Carr to see how that would look. But it would be a little pointless to store the mats if he's not receiving ice time. So we need a decision from council on that piece as well.
Go ahead.
Would you be able to pay for ice time until we are able to do the grants to organization process?
We've already taken that on to pay for the ice. We do, thanks to COVID, we do have some funds because our programs haven't been running for the last several years. So we do have funds to take it on short term, which is what we're doing.
Because then we might be able to do grants to organizations in the budget process. And you said February. I think you were being a little optimistic there. February or March.
No, we have a budget meeting in January. So yeah, we should be able to have it done by Groundhog Day. Yeah, it will be a little bit, but I mean, we'll see how the process goes and what we've got. I guess the one question though is, Harrison doesn't have as good of ice, or in your letter you said that you've already had the offer from
So
the town
yeah,
manager.
the offer was from Harrison, but again, our organization, this chapter of Special Olympics encompasses Walkerton, Hanover, and West Gray. So we were hoping to keep our programs in this area. We have the athletes, and that's a bit of a drive for some of them to go from Hanover to Harrison. And again, I said it's Durham is part of our chapter, and we would like to have the facilities here in West Gray and keep it local.
Okay. Can I bring this to a bit of a conclusion then? That your comment, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I think you're looking for a motion of some sort there, Mayor Eccles. So I would move that we would, because of the timeline that you're under, Mr. Carr, there was to allow him to go in for the storage for now on a 1 year agreement until we we've got some things obviously to do here. I respect your timeline. And again, further that possibly staff does some investigation, again, insurance and what that would look like in the long range, but we can do a temporary 1-year agreement for now and continue on with the ICE arrangement you currently have until such a time that we complete our budget and we look at a grants to organization. That quite a bit, but I bet you I can get a recap.
His fingers weren't moving quite as fast as your lips were, but you know, I think you got it.
Well, then I'm going to turn this off and we'll wait.
I don't know whether, I'm just looking at the clerk and or the CEO, do we need it? This is more programming through the municipality. If we're not waiving any of the fees or whatnot, it would be an operational thing at the arena, you know, kind of with the blessing of council that that's what's going on. And I would say just direction to staff at this point in time, the fee part of it, but free storage. I'm looking to the CEO, just give direction to staff to work with Mr. Carr and the group and the arena, or if you want it as a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The comfort of a motion is because the one part of it is directing staff to deal with the insurance implications. So that would be helpful to have that clearly in the minutes. If the clerk captured that piece.
Through Mayor to Deputy Mayor Hutchinson, you were speaking a little bit faster than I was typing. So if you wouldn't mind just repeating the latter portion of your motion, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Eckenswiller, and I can't remember. So motion was that we would do a 1-year agreement to store the max until such that will allow at the time for staff to check into insurance. That was one part of it. And the other part was that we would during the budget discussions or deliberations, we will discuss the grants to organizations to see if there was any funding options there towards the ICE. But by doing it this way, I guess what I was trying to get in summary is that we can take care of the immediate need of the storage, and that'll allow us the cushion or the time to do what we need to do internally. It was a little longer than that, though, Mayor Eric, but I just kind of watered it down.
Concise is better.
So through Mayor to members of council, what I have is that council approved the storage of South Saugeen Special Olympic mats for a period of 1 year at the Durham Arena beginning December 2022, and further discuss grants to organization during the 2023 budget deliberation to investigate funding opportunities to cover ice time. And I did hear Councillor Townsend mention that it was Ayton Arena, not Durham, so I will make that change.
Normanby. Yes, yeah. But he's very clear on that. Deputy Mayor.
Yes. Sorry, I know we got a huge agenda. So just Clerk Eckenswiller, it was for 1 year to allow staff the time to do the investigation, whether it's insurance and what storage, et cetera, that would be connected to it. And that should allow us the time to get everything done. Not that that's your deadline, but
The
Through Mayor. So then what I have now is that council approve the storage of South Saugeen Special Olympics mats for a period of 1 year at the Normanby Arena beginning December 2022 to provide staff with time to investigate insurance requirements and further discuss grants to organizations during the 2023 budget deliberations to investigate funding opportunities to cover ice time.
Okay. Motion on the floor. Second, Jeffrey. Councillor Shay. Any further questions on the motion? Councillor Noon, Joyce?
Thank you. I was just wondering whether through the Special Olympics or through the municipality, if there was any funding available for special needs with the, this opportunity with programs. I don't know if it's something upcoming that maybe Cody would be familiar with, that between the municipality and yourself, Brian, that hopefully there'd be some funding available to help offset your costs. Thank you.
We always have something upcoming. So we have a meet in February 25th in Barrie for a speed skating competition. And then there's also that weekend a provincial qualifier for snowshoeing. We have 2 athletes going to that. We have an athlete going for Nordic skiing qualifier. There'll be 6 going for the speed skating qualifier. We also have a basketball program. I don't know if they're going to be going to the qualifier this year or not. There's still a new program, but that just covers our winter. And then the summer we have swimming. Actually, our swimming program is running now. Their qualifier is in Owen Sound, the end of March. It's the swimming qualifier for the summer games in 2024. So, but yeah, we also have a track and field program that'll be qualifying for the summer games. Just on a side note, we have a West Grey athlete that's actually on the alternate for Team Canada right now for the summer games in Germany next summer in bocce, and that athlete is right here. So she is technically part of Team Canada right now for the summer games. So yeah, so we always have programs running. We try not to ask for anything from the local community very much because of things like this where we need your help. So we'll never turn down donations either.
Being involved with a few other organizations, I know that Brian leaves no stone unturned when it comes to finding those grants and whatnot, Councillor Noon. So yeah, there may be something that we can discover as well too to help continue with this great program for the athletes themselves. Okay. Have the motion on the floor. Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. So we'll work together with staff there, Brian, on getting the mats moved over, and by the sounds of it, working with the arena staff at Normanby, and look forward to bringing home many medals to West Grey there, young lady. Okay, not much pressure on you, but just saying.
She won 4th last night.
Yes, yes. Highly decorated. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you
Brian.
very much for hearing us and considering our request and for any support that you can get. So I'm going to take our lead now instead of trying to sit down and try and get back up again. So thank you very much. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, come on. Say thank you.
You're still suffering. You're welcome. Take care. Good luck, dear.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Our last delegation is Karen Cox, South Grey Chamber of Commerce. And Deputy Mayor has declared a conflict. Have that recognized. And welcome this morning, Karen. Thank you.
Just trying to
for
figure
coming.
out if it's going to be better to stand or to sit or.
Where you feel comfortable. That's,
Okay,
Just-
okay, the microphone's on. That's great.
yep, your way. Floor's
Okay,
yours.
I might try sitting. Be different. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, well, good morning, Your Honor and councilors for the municipality of West Gray. And I want to thank you for providing the opportunity to present our proposal for the new South Gray Chamber of Commerce as of January 1st, 2023. The South Gray Chamber of Commerce will have 250 plus members currently from 4 municipalities of Gray Highlands, West Gray, Southgate, and Chatsworth. My name is Karen Cox, and I am the current president for the Gray Highlands Chamber of Commerce. The Gray Highlands Chamber of Commerce have had a memorandum of understanding, or an MOU, with the municipality of Gray Highlands, which is a very successful and collaborative agreement. We can move to the next slide. Okay, thank you. In an overview of what I'll be covering today in the Chamber's proposal, from our vision and mission of the new Chamber, a quick review of our past collaboration, our current status, where we are, and where we are proposing to move forward in 2023, plus some insights into the planning and research we are conducting to produce our long-term strategic business plan. So the new transition board for the Chamber of Commerce are in the process of planning a robust year ahead with the merger just about completed. We are excited for 2023. Our proposal today will outline our goals and aspirations for 2023 and beyond for the 4 municipalities within the catchment area of the South Gray Chamber of Commerce. We believe we are stronger together. I'm going to stand. I think it might be a little easier. Okay, so the new vision for our new chamber is to be the business community hub for South Gray and a vital partner of our local businesses, providing a supportive economic environment for new and existing businesses to thrive in a welcoming business community. And our new mission statement is to be the recognized voice of businesses in South Gray. The chamber supports local businesses with marketing, community events, networking, education, and bridge economic development with strategy, communication, and action. We are committed to the enhancement of economic prosperity in South Gray. Next slide. So our past. So if we move into the next slide, in 2022, the Chamber of Gray Highland and West Gray commenced discussion about a merger. Both chambers were finding it difficult to offer the services they wanted for their members, have staff, and be sustainable. The thoughts were that we would be stronger together and provide more benefits to our members. By July of 2022, both boards had received approval from their memberships to proceed with the merger to be completed by the end of 2022. Also during the year, we were having discussions with the Township of Southgate and Chatsworth regarding expanding the area of the new chamber into their respective areas. We also were having discussions with the surrounding chambers to the new proposed South Gray area to see if there was any opposition with the new area we were looking to register with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. Now to look at the past. Next slide. The first memorandum of understanding between the municipality of Gray Highlands and the Gray Highlands Chamber of Commerce was made in 2018. So we've been doing this for 5 years. Since 2018, there has been an MOU or some form of funding for deliverables each year. This proposal today is to expand the MOU proposal to the 4 municipalities within the area of the new chamber and provide the same opportunity of deliverables that the municipality of Gray Highlands has collaborated and benefited from since 2018. So where are we going in our future? So for 2023, the South Gray Chamber of Commerce is proposing an MOU with each of the 4 municipal areas. In the MOU, the South Gray Chamber of Commerce would provide the same deliverables to each of the 4 municipal areas. And the chamber is proposing 3 main areas of deliverables as part of the MOU for 2023. Next slide. I guess the next one after that too, sorry. Okay, so the deliverables, the first one, if we can go to the next slide, is for the chambers proposing to provide tourism and information support. So the chamber would be responsible for the distribution of tourism flyers and brochures in the South Gray area. The chamber would establish tourism outposts that would host display stands or racks in various high traffic businesses that can work as year-round mini information centers, stocking the outposts with local information on the area with an emphasis on South Gray. To maintain a relationship with Gray County Tourism, plus for the chamber staff to participate in the Gray County Tourism Ambassador Program. Next slide. Fourth, to develop a South Gray tourism website with content from the 4 municipal areas. And lastly, to develop a South Gray app for residents and visitors, which will be a multi-year project. The app will be like where to go in South Gray, where to eat, where to stay, what can you do in South Gray, where to find a specific type of business or service in South Gray. It could also have the possibility of an awards program for the businesses, all the while promoting to shop local. It could have walking tours, historic sites, and other natural gems of the area featured. In these last two projects, the chamber would be collaborating with your respective municipal staff to make sure we are producing the best applications possible. Next slide. Okay, so the second part of the deliverables is the business and community events. So as you can see from the slide on your screen up there, we have a variety of events that we're looking at, and I'll go into more detail on each event. So we can proceed to the first one, which is the job fair. We're looking at hosting one job fair in the spring for the summer season and one in late summer for the winter season. We'll coordinate with the representatives from the 4 municipalities and the Gray County Economic Development. Each municipality would have space to participate in the job fair if they so wish. And the local marketing that the chamber would be doing for the event will be promoted as conjunction with the 4 municipalities. Next slide. The next one is the Enhanced Recognition Awards event. The chamber had its inaugural Excellence in Business Award Gala in November of 2022. The event provides an opportunity to celebrate the success of our local businesses, along with recognizing the strong community involvement we have in the area. The event is planned to be in the fall, around the time of Small Business Week, and we are proposing in 2023 to expand the scope of the Business Award Gala with additional award categories, plus each municipality could sponsor a Volunteer of the Year for their municipal area. This event would be in conjunction with the 4 municipalities. The next event we're looking at is the Area Home and Garden Show. And the chamber last year revived the Home and Garden Show that the municipality of Gray Highlands had produced previously. We expanded the show to 2 days and had the exhibitors in the arena, the Kinplex, and outdoors. We saw 1,800 to 2,000 visitors to the show over the 2 days. And we're looking to expand the scope of the show in 2023 to produce a more area regional show. Each municipality would receive complimentary booth space in the show, as well as being promoted of a supporter of the show and all the marketing material. Next slide, please. This one is a breakfast or lunch with the mayor and council. So each municipality can choose to have either a breakfast or a lunch with the mayor and the council. This event provides an opportunity to engage your business community on maybe a new municipal proposal or an idea you would like to discuss with the business community, or we could book a guest speaker. This is a great networking opportunity for council to meet with their local businesses. In each municipality would receive 8 tickets to attend, as well as being marketed as a key sponsor for the event in their each respective municipality. Next slide, please. Okay, a signature event. So we're looking to develop a new signature event or expand an existing event in collaboration with the municipal staff for each municipality. The municipality the event is organized for would be promoted as the key co-sponsor. And next slide, the last one in this category we're looking at is political debates. So the chamber would organize debates in the years that elections are held. Provincially and federally, political debates would be held within the respective South Gray area. In the year of a municipal election, the chamber would host a municipal debate in each municipality. So we'll move to the third category in the next slide. So our long-term business plan, if we can move again, thank you, to provide you some insight on the direction of our strategic business plan for 2023 and beyond. We're looking to establish a business center which would provide rental space by the month or day for small home and startup businesses. It would be able to provide training and mentorship opportunities. And the other long-term one, which I had mentioned already earlier, is the app for South Gray that can be utilized by the residents and visitors to the area. And like a website, it can be built in many stages to add various components from business information to local jams and attractions to video and audio walking tours of the area. The chamber would be collaborating with the staff from the 4 municipalities on these 2 initiatives. So, accountability. How do we measure success? The chamber will have 2 group meetings with the 4 respective municipal staff per year, and we'll also have 2 individual meetings with each representative from each municipality per year. We'll also prepare year-end reporting with reporting metrics to substantiate the success of 2023, and there will also be event update reports with metrics for all the larger events that will be given to each municipality. So to recap, the summary of the deliverables that the South Gray Chamber of Commerce is proposing in the 2023 MOU with each municipality is tourism support, job fair, a home and garden show, recognition awards event, a breakfast and lunch event with the mayor and council, a signature event, and political debates in election years. So in closing, the new transition board of directors for the South Gray Chamber of Commerce for 2023 are excited about the road ahead. We have hit the ground running, which I believe is evident by this proposal. We are requesting $10,000 from each municipality to get our ambitious plan started, which would provide a good foundation for the chamber to deliver and create the events and services outlined in this proposal, while continuing to provide the enhanced services and expanded events for 2023. So I want to thank you all for your time today, and the chamber is looking forward to a long-term collaborative relationship with the 4 municipalities. So take any questions you may have now.
Councillor New, Joyce, go ahead.
Under your business plan, you have a long-term business plan. You mentioned a business center hub. Now, would this be one hub for the South Gray grouping, or would there be one in each of the municipalities that are in the South Gray program?
That's a good question. So we're sort of in the initial stages of planning that. I know there's one, in Sound right now, a business hub and innovative center. I guess it would depend what the demand is from the local home-based businesses and startups, and where we can get, I guess, a facility to run a business hub out of. But I could see having maybe one larger hub, maybe that would host the chamber office, and then have maybe some outreach sessions or others. I guess programs operating within the 4 municipalities, right? Like we're looking at doing lunch and learn. So at that point in time, they could be done in different, areas, and bring in a speaker to talk about, business planning or finances or different programs that are coming down, like reaching the responsibilities for accessibility to your business, et cetera, or marketing. So. But we're still in the beginning stages here.
Okay. Any other? Doug, Councillor Townsend.
Thanks. Fully support the getting, all 4 municipalities together on this. But my question is, within West Gray has its own unique functions, like Durham operates different than Newstead and so on. So if hosting an event in West Gray, as I say, what might work in Durham won't work in a Newstead, or Newstead might need something totally different. So is there going to be a local component to the Chamber of Commerce as well as the regional one, or is it all just going to be the region?
You mean for the signature event?
signature and any events?
Any event. So we're
I'm-
looking at the signature event, we're looking at participation for the 4 municipalities and beyond. We're looking at, to give you an example, when I was involved with the Meaford Chamber of Commerce, we started the Scarecrow Invasion, which brings in 10,000 people on a weekend quite easily, or Pumpkin Fest or Wyerton Willie. So we're looking at having a signature event that it will eventually be a draw to the area for the local businesses and the community. When you're talking about the individual events like Newstat and what happens in Durham, we're sort of looking at, we would have representatives from each of the municipality on our events committee, and then we would also be able to support a lot of the events locally. I'm not sure what events you're talking about, sir, but or if we're talking about if we're doing like an agro-tourism event, which does a tour throughout the area to different establishments, or if we're looking at a wine and beer and cider tour or whatever, there's different types of things that could be a signature event. I think you have one on Family Day currently. That's quite big. That could maybe be grown to be even larger and more successful than it is now. Does that answer your question or?
Scott. Oh, that other Doug. Councillor Hutchison, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Karen, for your presentation. I think it's a great idea. Anything we can do to promote economic development, tourism, et cetera, I think is a great thing. Just a couple of thoughts. I know Durham has a BIA. I'm not sure within Grey Highlands, Southgate. Are there any other BIAs? I just hope that would be part of your mandate to work with the local BIAs or business groups within each community.
Currently, no. Grey Highlands, neither Grey Highlands or Southgate or Chatsworth have BIAs. I'm quite familiar with the BIAs from my days on being the president at the Meaford Chamber. We had a BIA, but we do work currently with like the Rotary and the other service organizations. So to give you a little bit of insight, in Meaford, when we had the Apple Harvest Craft Show, we need to grow that into a larger event when I was on the chamber there. So the BIA took on a role, the service clubs took on a role, the chamber took on a role, and we all worked together collaboratively with the town of Meaford at that point in time to build that into the signature event it is today.
So that's great. I think that's an important aspect. I think that to have that connection and work together. The other question I had was about the $10,000. To me, that's something I think that looks like we should maybe come through our economic development committee. Maybe that's something we can fund through that. But I'm just curious. So is that 10,000? Obviously, there's staffing involved, and so is that basically covering staff wages going forward? Is some of the chamber membership covering staff? What does that look like?
So what that looks like is, yes, some of it would probably go towards staff because you're going to need staff to coordinate all of these events. There's also costs for all of these events and marketing too. So we would have to work out a budget from the 40,000 from the 4 municipalities. So some would go towards staff or increasing the hours of the current staff because you just don't put on a regional home show or a breakfast or lunch with the mayor without having costs associated with them. So it would probably be split between the two.
Okay, so just bring to mind, in fact, you said current staff. So what staff does the Chamber of Commerce have now?
Currently, Grey Highlands Chamber of Commerce has a part-time staff. With the merger with West Grey and the expanded area with the 250 plus members, we're looking at a full-time staff. But it would probably take more than that to coordinate these new events that we have added to this proposal for the MOU. Because we currently don't do breakfast with the mayor, we don't do the job fair, we don't do a signature event in the 4 municipalities. So those would take seed money to get them going.
Okay, thank you. Sounds exciting. So love to hear more. Thank you.
You've given us a lot to digest in a short period of time. Thank you very much, Karen. for that. And I think certainly following Councillor Hutchison and a couple of the other comments here, something that we can seriously consider, but obviously it would be an addition to our budget as the Chamber of West Grey has operated fiscally on its own, I believe, for a number of years. And this would be a step further for us. I'm going to suggest that it will be brought forward again under our budgeting process and look forward to coordinating that, because I think it's one thing that as a council elect, we all stated that working together, we can accomplish a lot more. And this is a partnership that has started to do that on the economic development and the viability of our communities, not just our municipalities, but the communities as a whole. So look forward to further development and communication back and forth now that we've opened up the lines. And going forward, positively, that's where we want to be, is in a positive position. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's to everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to present this morning.
Excellent. Thank you. And the same to you and your family, and enjoy. Can I make a suggestion that we take just a 5? Yeah, it's going to be 5 minutes. We'll return at 10:15. Okay? Time for coffee refill and tea disbursement. Okay. We will call the meeting back to order. Councillor Hutchison, got your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to raise a point before we get into the meeting. As a person in the virtual world, I'm just wondering if, is it possible that staff look at the option to be able to show the speakers on screen? If they have a presentation, it shows up on the screen, but otherwise you have this mysterious person who's talking and you really don't see them. So I had made a suggestion maybe in the past that maybe we need to, change the podium where they present from. So just something to keep in mind. The whole part about being transparent means you can actually see someone that's doing a presentation. So just something to keep in mind for the audience that's out in the virtual world, that when they're watching these videos, that it's nice to be able to see the presenter. So just thought I'd throw that out there, and maybe we can do something about it in that future. Thanks.
Well, we've finally got Councillor Noon plugged in. We've got that one established. Now we can hear her. Now she is transparent. Got that one fixed. I think it's something we've discussed and staff are looking at it, but it's, what it would cost to have, because it's going to take another camera and a few other things, and Cody's nodding his head. But moving forward, it'd probably be a good thing for us to look at, and maybe we'll bring something back maybe in next year's budget. No, it'll have to be a budgeted item. Doug?
I'm just going to throw something in on that too. It might be as simple as if we had a laptop there with Zoom on it, then they would. I don't know whether that would work or not.
We'll just, how about we move this on? It really wasn't something that was on the agenda. So bring it to our attention and have staff look at it going forward. Okay. Public meetings, we have none. Comment period. Looking for any of the council members that have comment on. Sorry, public comment period. Yes, my wrong. Go ahead.
Members of the public wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting may do so in a variety of ways. The first being, if you have joined us via Zoom, you can raise your hand, which is typically located in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen under the more reaction items. The second option for members who have called in, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Taking a review of the dashboard for the meeting, I am not seeing any members of the public wishing to participate.
Just to deviate something slightly on the comment period, I'm going to take the mayor's privilege. The coming season, but looking at the weather report, and we've got our public works director here, Brent, there seems to be a significant indication that our weatherman, who is 100% correct 100% of the time in Grey County, but over the Christmas season, it looks like there could be a very significant event. Just wondering if there was any thoughts, updates, or with municipal services that you wanted to comment on. And this might be the best time to do that. Brent?
Yeah, thank you, Worship, and good morning, Council. I wanted to bring attention to Council that there is a severe weather event being posted for this coming Friday and Saturday. Very extreme, to the point where public travel is already being advised against. So with that, we, of course, our operations, we're going to do the best we can with the roads and things like that. But of course, we're going to observe our own safety as well to protect our operators and employees. Having said that, we do have our landfill in Benwick that is scheduled to be open on Saturday. We have taken the opportunity to try and be proactive and put a message out to the public that in light of the impending weather, that may the operation of the landfill may not exist on the Saturday, but we have a few days to, as we get closer to the scheduled weather event. I'm sure there's going to be updates on the weather reports, and but we're just trying to get a communication out there to the public in advance to make sure that they're aware and they're not traveling to the landfill, and check the website first before they head out to that. So I'm just providing that notice to council should you receive phone calls from the public regarding that matter or anything else. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Brent, for that. With no further comments, let's go unfinished business. I don't believe that we have any, Jamie, that's been recognized, so nothing there. Number 8, adoption of the minutes from the minutes of the inaugural. And can I do these individually? Yeah. Okay, 8.1, the minutes of the inaugural council meeting held November the 22nd, 2022. Do I have a mover for those adoption? Councillor Townsend and Councillor Forster. Any comments, errors or omissions on that, on those minutes? All those in favor? Raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you, Doug. You can raise it and lower it. Good. 8.2, minutes of the regular council meeting held on November the 29th, 2022. We have a mover for those. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Councillor Hutchison. Thank you. Any errors or omissions on those ones that anybody have seen? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And then we have the minutes of the special council meeting held on December the 7th. That was our training council, training and education. Those minutes are there. Do we have a mover to accept those? Councillor Noon, thank you, Joyce, and Councillor Shea. Jeffrey, any errors or omissions on those? Be noted. Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, that's for the minutes. Committee and board reports. Can we do both of these at once? Receiving. So we have the West Grey Public Library from July the 13th and the library minutes from October the 12th, 2022. I have a motion to receive those minutes. Moved by Councillor Forster Scott, seconded by Councillor Townsend. Doug, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Good. Correspondence. The first one is 10.1.1. Durham Agriculture Society request for the use of the Durham and District Community Center. I think that this is just their notice. It's written right into their agreement with the municipality. On a yearly basis, they have to give us notice on the days that they're going to hold the fall fair. And they have 2 extra days for functions because goes way back to the arena was built on their property, and that was part of the whole deal. Jamie,
Through Mayor, yes. So if it's council's wish, I've drafted a motion for this one. So what I have is that in consideration of correspondence received November 20th, 2022 from the Durham Agricultural Society respecting the use of the Durham and District Community Center, council approves Durham Agricultural Society's request to use the Durham and District Community Center as outlined in the request.
thank you, Jamie. So that's the motion. If anybody want to move that, Councillor Shea. Seconder. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you, Tom. Any questions on the motion? Pretty straightforward. All those in favor? Any opposed? That one is carried. Okay. Newstead Normie Carrick Egg Society request for a financial donation Councillor Forster is declaring the conflict on this one as earlier reported. Thank you, Scott. And you have a motion on this one. Really doesn't require a motion. In my opinion, it's their request. They've got the letter in early. It comes under grants to organizations that's been done for a number of years. I'm correct on that. Yeah, just giving us notice. Councillor Townsend.
Question if I can, Mr. Mayor. I noticed in the Durham one, they have a bunch of dates and a bunch of, they use our facilities for meetings and everything like that. Do we treat both agricultural societies the same, or are they two, like, that's where I'm kind of going with it. Are we treating them both the same? They're both within the same municipality. Are they both getting the same shake, fair shake, or not?
I'm going to look to a staff member, and Cody's just jumping at getting at to answering this one. Mr. Hewitt.
If I may, and thank you for the question, Councillor. Both agriculture societies operate under their own agreements. So the agreements themselves are separate. However, they do get similar treatment overall. The Durham Agriculture Society tends to make more use of the facility as opposed to the Newstead Normanby.
Councillor Hutchison. Doug, did you have a question as well too?
Yeah, yes, I'm just, this item is similar to some other items that we received, but not regarding requests for funding. And I think we referred them to budget time. So will we not just sort of compile some of these requests and then deal with them all at once during budget?
And I think that as they come in so that they don't get lost, piled up on someplace. Yeah, I think we would deal with them all in the same vein. And yeah, on this one, direction to staff to have it on our on the budget discussions.
Right, and maybe at that time we were going to revisit that bylaw or memorandum agreement. I'm not sure what it was called that we came up with to sort of put some kind of rules and regulations on how we go about meeting all these demands. So maybe we need to revisit that.
I believe that's some leftover business from the previous council. Yeah, and I think I've been told by staff that that discussion will be coming up in the budget process on that grants to organizations. It's not a large part of the overall budget. It's just a large part of the discussion in the overall budget, as it always has been. Okay, all right. Do you want that motion directed to budget there, Jamie? Is that how you want to deal with it?
Through mayor to members of council, I think what would be most appropriate at this time is if a member of council made a motion to defer this to the 2023 budget deliberations.
And is the correct word defer or refer?
I think either one would be sufficient.
That's all right, Miracles. But that is to receive and defer, correct?
Through mayor, since other action has been taken, a motion to receive isn't required because there has been action on the item.
Okay, no other questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Oh, you still got your hand up there, Doug? Did you have a question on that?
Well, I just didn't catch, I was going to make the motion to defer, but I didn't catch who was motioning.
Sorry.
Who seconded?
Councillor Noon and Deputy Mayor Hutchison.
Okay,
Moved and seconded.
Maybe the mics weren't on when I didn't hear it. Sorry.
Okay. So we're fine. We've already voted on it. It's passed. We're good. Drinking water source protection, request for a representative from the municipal group 4. Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, somebody find Scott. Thank you, Scott. Yeah. Sorry about that. My understanding of this is that we put a name forward. It's up to the group to make that. Clerk?
Through mayor to members of council, that's correct. So if council doesn't wish to proceed with a nomination, then certainly that's within council's prerogative to do so. If no nomination is put forward, then I would suggest that we receive this for information. If a nomination is desired from council, then I have some wording for a motion to that effect.
So I guess that is the question, the desirability. We can make a staff member, or is it an elected official? I'm not 100% clear on that. I know I'm clear on, there's 2 people on the council that aren't eligible. The 2 that sit on the conservation board. Jamie?
Through mayor, so what I have seen in the past is it can be either a staff person or a member of council. Like I said, it's a nomination process. So the name that's put forward, if one is put forward, would go to the organization. They would select from all the names provided who they would like the representative to be.
How does council want to deal with this? Somebody really keen on dealing with it? Councillor Hutchison.
I was going to make a suggestion, but maybe the CAO might want to comment regarding Sarah Hansen, since she is our environmental person and does our asset management. Is that something that would be appropriate for her, or is her workload too heavy now that she doesn't really need more on her plate? Our CAO comment?
I'll let the Madam CEO speak to that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to Councillor Hutchinson. Sarah would be a logical fit, but I'm a little worried about capacity right now because she's got a couple of strategic plans that are just going to be delivered in the new year that she needs to deliver on. So if we could table her for now, that would probably be a little safer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any member of council that wants to voluntarily jump at this one? The thing is, it's not an automatic. We put one name forward. I think is there 4 or 5 municipalities that are in this that could be representing the group on that source water protection. Going once, going twice. It's not on a lot. Councillor Noon.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. I was just wondering, another staff member, not in a management position though, but Tammy Wielden is very like with environment and stuff. She's very keen. She keeps up with a lot of the what's going on out there in today's with climate change and all that. I was just wondering if that recommendation and if the Madam CAO would make reference to that. It's just a suggestion.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Noon. I haven't had the opportunity to ask staff if they'd even be interested in this. I'm not quite sure what the representative, what the expectation would be, and if staff would be interested. I mean, we can, if there's no council rep, and if council would like me to survey staff to see if there's any interest and put their name forward, I could do it that way. But if there's no interest from staff, I would respectfully request that we just receive it for information after I speak to the individuals.
Through mayor to members of council too, I will know that there is a deadline on this being December 22nd. So it is a time sensitive matter. Just bear that in mind.
could I suggest that we defer this until Madam CEO at the next break? Maybe we could talk to the staff member and see. As I said, it's, there's no guarantee. I think if memory serves me right, the time commitment is somewhere between 4 to 6 meetings a year that they meet. A lot of the heavy work has been done on establishing all of those, but I'm not certain that it's still not important.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. And as I'm looking at the correspondence, they're looking for folks that have relevant knowledge of watersheds, local land uses and institutions, participate in public meetings, understand municipal financing and planning issues. So it's quite an expectation of qualifications that I really would need to speak to staff to see if they're comfortable. Some staff would meet some of this, but I don't know that they would meet all of what they're looking for the way that an elected official might have that background.
Okay. We'll defer a decision on this until later in the meeting, so we can gather a bit of information. Okay. Durham Trailblazers request. No, I didn't get the updated agenda here. I'm very mistaken. Yes, it is the Roma. I'm going off the paper copy list. Anyway, Roma 2023-27 Roma Board of Directors call for nominations. Is there any interest in this? Jamie?
Through Mayor to Council, similar to the last piece of correspondence, there is no action that's required on this. If Council doesn't wish to nominate somebody, then a motion to receive would be sufficient.
He is interested in running, you need a motion from council, but I'm leaving it up. Is there any council member that is jumping at the option? I will say that there is a Grey County, an individual in Grey County that has already submitted an application. Deputy Mayor of Grey Highlands is looking at that. Deputy Mayor Tom?
And Steve McCabe out of Wellington as well, but I was just going to give you your motion to put a motion forward to receive. Thank you.
Turn my mic on. Thank you, Cody. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Now, the next one. Trailblazers, Durham Trailblazers request memorandum. Something that has come up and we're looking for address. Any comments on this? Snowmobile Club has had this for a number of years. I think whether it was because of COVID or it was because of weather or just got missed. It's been a couple of years since it was last signed. But question, Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, I'm glad to see this come forward. I've had some discussions with some of the members of the Snowmobile Club. My recollection, and maybe I'm wrong, staff can correct me, but it might be a little hard to find. I think the last time we had a memorandum of understanding with the Durham Trailblazers was in November 21st, 2005. So I think it's one of those things that we really need to stay on top of. The thing I like about having this is we, in planning, we quite often talk about unopened road allowances and we sell off properties and whatnot. And I know the snowmobile and ATVs and are two areas that are very popular in West Grey, and it's a big tourism thing. So I really think that we need to get on top of this, and maybe someday when we put together our elusive trails plan, that this will be included because this is part of trails, right? It's just a different format. It's not walkers, it's snowmobiles and it's ATVers. So it's good to have this because I think when we do look at planning, there are sometimes that we do sell off unopened road allowances and not realizing that it may be part of a local trail route. So we have the maps, which really help us that we can refer to. And I think it's important to have them involved when it comes to something like that. So I'm glad to see it. My concern is apparently Mount Forest and Hanover do have snowmobile clubs that use our roads and unopened road allowances. I think we need to have an MOU from them also. And again, it comes down to liability, right? I mean, they're using unopened road allowance. They maintain them, which is great. But I mean, ultimately it'll fall back onto West Gray if something happens. So I think it's good to have this, the insurance part of it, the whole bit. And I do look forward to someday maybe bringing us all together under one umbrella of master plan of trails in West Gray. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Jamie, I think you've got a motion.
Through Mayor to members of council, the motion that I prepared on this is that in consideration of correspondence received December 6, 2022 from the Durham Trailblazers respecting a request to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the municipality of West Gray for the use of municipal road allowances, council directs staff to execute the MOU for the use of municipal road allowances as outlined in the request.
I have a mover for that. Moved by Councillor Townsend. Seconder. Councillor Hutchison. Very good. Any questions or comments? Councillor Shay. Jeff?
Is this agreement reviewed by anyone on staff? I'd be curious to hear a staff input saying, oh, this one section where it goes on open road allowance is hazardous and we don't like that. We'd like to sort of take that part out, or I'm just curious if anybody has any sort of overview of this.
Through Mayor to Councillor Shay, I did have a chance to review the MOU prior to it being placed on the agenda. The one thing that I did request is that it be contingent upon West Gray being named as additional insured before it would take effect. So from a liability standpoint, we'd be covered in that sense, and the MOU wouldn't be active until we're listed as additional insured.
And also I did, because it was on the agenda, did speak to the director and to your question, and he has no problems. It's something that they have been using that, and there's been no issues with Public Works on any of those road allowances, the ditches and whatnot. So they were fine with it. Okay. All right. Motion's been moved and seconded on the floor. If there's no other questions, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, that's it for. Oh, yes, sorry. There's some other minor correspondence that's in the package. Clerk Eccles?
Through Mayor to members of council, yes. So at item 10.2 on the agenda is the information package. So if there's nothing in there that council wishes to pull out and speak to separately, then a motion to receive all of those at once would be required.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor Hutchison will move the motion to receive the correspondence. Seconder? Councillor Forrester. Scott? Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. That brings us down to staff reports. And Laura Lee, your timing is perfect. It's almost like you were psychic. You knew that we were right there. Starting staff reports, the Manager of Planning and Development. Director Shipwreck and Leonard Spencer are with us. And the first one, Bill 109, More Homes for Everyone Act. Laura Lee, give us an update on this of what it means or
All right, thank
what we
you.
can do with it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to give you an update, so Bill 109 has a lot of parties to this and pieces coming into play. So the provincial government did create a working group last year, at the beginning of 2022, and that task force, referred to as the Housing Affordability Task Force, did put into a report of 55 recommendations to the province to make changes to legislation with the most intent of that to be addressing housing shortages, to deal with secondary units, specifically to deal with streamlining planning processes, et cetera. So many aspects of Bill 109 did come into effect as of July 1st. And I've only highlighted the ones that are really significant to West Grey itself. This is a very GTA-based legislation in some cases that don't necessarily have the same implications to us as they would in the city. One of the major implications and changes that will come into effect for West Grey essentially is the requirement for site plan authority to be delegated to staff. So it will no longer be coming forward to council as it had in the past. Typically, we would be reviewing site plans at the staff level, bringing forward an agreeable site plan and agreement for ratification through council by bylaw. That will no longer be required. As you will see later in the agenda, there is a site plan delegation bylaw that's coming forward that is mandated by the province. There is no option for that to change at this point in time. In addition to that, there's some requirements for fee refunds, and this is intended to streamline planning processes and to prevent undue process. So what staff are recommending at this point in time, and further policies will be required to support this. But essentially what it will mean is that applications need to be reviewed and deemed complete on the front end of the application. So that means that prior to actually issuing a notice of complete application, we will need to see those reports, environmental impact studies, traffic impact studies, whatever the nature of the report is required for the application at hand. In essence, we need to remember that those decisions that are outlined in the table provided on page 2 of the report do dictate some very tight timelines to deal with applications, especially when it comes to official plan amendment applications. Those are significant because they're often quite complicated and may involve county approval as well, because we are not the delegated authority for official plan amendment review. We simply make recommendations to county council. So it'll be very imperative for that first front-ending pre-consultation and the complete application process to be conducted to avoid the refund of fees as mandated by the province. Again, the point of the legislation is to streamline process. It does, however, recognize some failures and differences in the intricacies of each application. It's not a straight yes or no based on, a code. It's a yes or no based on policy in some cases, which is going to be complicated to implement in a fast manner. But with that complete application upfront, it should be something that we can work toward. Again, just as a reminder to council, application fees are not a revenue generating service for the municipality. It's simply cost recovery for the use of staff and time to put forward those applications. I'm happy to answer any questions as we go forward. And otherwise, I'll move on to the next report.
Any questions for Councillor Shea? Jeff, go ahead.
Thanks for this report. Do you predict us issuing a lot of refunds?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't anticipate that's going to be the case. Typical practice has been since about 2005, when the whole notice of complete application process was sort of starting to be brought into effect, is that the requirement for pre-consultation is paramount. So individuals need to come in and have a full understanding of the application at hand. It will vary on what the significance of that looks like. If it's a plan of subdivision, obviously there's going to be a lot more pre-consultation meetings involved than if someone's applying for a minor variance. Those changes will need to be implemented and reviewed on the possibility of every application, but the intent certainly would not be to refund applications and their fees.
And would it be appropriate for us to ask that that you share site plan agreements with council, even though we don't have a decision-making authority?
If I may, through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly they can be provided for information purposes to keep council apprised, but there would be no commenting ability as per Bill 109, would just be for information purposes only.
Would you need a motion to enable that, or could this just be best practice?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy with best practices if that's the will of council.
Any other questions for Laura Lee? Doug, Councillor Hutchison, you know enough?
Yeah, just curiosity. So obviously this is, as our planner said, that maybe coming from the city part of it, but they seem to be saying that the speed of processing application is holding up building of new homes. That's the gist of what I read from this. I'm just wondering, like, are we having problems in that area? What's our average turnaround time for applications in this case?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Average turnaround time varies obviously on the application, but if you're looking at a minor variance or a zoning amendment, you're looking at 3 to 4 months. If they're combined with other applications, you're looking at obviously that extension of time. We try to run them concurrently. There seems to be a lot of pushback from other planning opinions in the county that they're no longer going to run applications concurrently. That being said, sometimes it is a case in which they can do, but that's also so that they don't hit the start button on that refund of fees timing. But that's a varying opinion at this point in time, but the planning group in Grey County has been in discussions about what the best approach is to deal with everyone in a consistent manner. So if someone's doing something in Meaford, they're approaching the same timelines in West Grey. Just as an example. Further to that, you have to remember a plan of subdivision application is usually 18 months before an application is submitted. And again, we're not the delegated approval authority for that, so we can only comment on the application. Consent applications, generally, I would recommend that once the application is deemed complete, they'd be 3 to 4 months to get to a public meeting, but they also should consider they need 10 to 12 months to complete the conditions associated with provisional consent.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this? Thank you. Yeah, I think Laura Lee, this is basically an update. I don't think we need a motion or anything on that, do we, Jimmy? Oh, gonna require one. Okay.
Through mayor to members of council, the recommendation of the report is that in consideration of staff report Bill 109, More Homes for Everyone Act, council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw to authorize delegated authority for site plan approval.
Okay, so need that to be a motion to get the bylaw prepared. Moved by Councillor Shea, seconder. Councillor Townsend. Very good. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? All right. So we've got homes for everyone, and now, Laura Lee, you want to tell us how we're going to build these homes faster? Apparently, Bill 23 update on that. Thank you, Laura Lee. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is for information purposes. There is a lot of information within Bill 23. Just to be clear, there are portions of this bill that have not come into force and effect and to be determined. One of the key highlights of that is anything related to the conservation authorities and their duties with municipalities. None of that has been determined at this point in time. So there is no deadline and there are no regulations to support the suggestions that have been provided. We'll be waiting. We have heard rumors that it could be Q2 of 2023, but there's no definitive date on that as of this point in time. Just some highlights that came into effect immediately. One of the biggest ones is the gentle density and intensification component. So that as of November 28th is in full force and effect. And that means that anywhere that has full municipal water and sewer services, they have as of right permissions to have what we call 3 accessory residential units. So there would be the primary dwelling unit, 1 unit within that dwelling unit as an apartment, and they would also have the ability to have a separate structure with a residential unit included in that as well. That's as of right, regardless of what our zoning states, they are permitted that use. They do require to meet some setbacks with respect to anything that's built on the building under the zoning, but that as of right use is there. To highlight that, they also have an exemption for development charges and parkland requirements for those units as well. Again, there is a new I should say but there is a new subdivision approval process. There will no longer be a public meeting required for plans of subdivision applications. However, that shouldn't be too concerning. Typically, they all require zoning bylaw amendment for rezoning purposes, and that would be included as a requirement. There is a requirement for public meeting, so that subdivision application potentially could run concurrently to keep the public involved. There have been some changes with respect to appeal rates, which are effective immediately as well. Minor variance and consent applications no longer permit third-party appeals. So unless you are an authority having jurisdiction or the municipality as such or commenting agency, you are no longer allowed to appeal an application for minor variance or consent. So the neighbor cannot appeal that application. And that is in full first effect as of November 28th. Anyone as part of this that had an appeal on the table for either one of those two applications that had not had a meeting date scheduled or a hearing date scheduled with the Ontario Land Tribunal, their appeal has been removed and it's no longer valid appeal at this point in time. There is discouragement with respect to the replacement of rental units with condo units. I've summarized that in the report. There's some things that have yet to be provided with how that's going to be in effect. What that essentially means is someone could come in and say that they're going to construct rental units, which would allow them to remove the requirement for them to pay parkland dedication requirements. But there's no mechanism in place at this point in time. There's nothing registered on title that would prevent them from changing those into condominium units down the road or changing them to freehold units down the road that would prevent them circumventing process to avoid those extra and additional fees that the municipality would use as their revenue process. So again, there's certain changes that have been made. There are some, there are a variety of implications, but there are some confusion as to what those implications will look like, particularly related to the Conservation Authority, as those regulations are not in effect, as I said. I know there's a lot of information in here, so I'm happy to answer questions. But again, there's still some uncertainty in how this is going to be implemented as it was passed as quickly as it was. But I'm happy to answer any questions for points of clarification.
Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of things in here and we won't know the results for a while yet. But one of the things that I think is concerning is the whole development charges thing and waiving of fees for development charges. I can see there's merit for some of that, but I think when you start bringing in a lot of houses without development charges, the taxpayer's base is going to have to cover that cost for infrastructure in the future. So I have a concern with that one, and I think there's going to be more discussion, and hopefully we'll hear more when we get to Roma later in January. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Any other questions on this? Other than the fact that, yes, it's certainly a very hot topic in the municipal planning world, conservation authorities, anybody that is doing this, and it seems that the provincial government has certainly put forward an idea of how to get 1.5 million homes built in Ontario, and the funding part comes from the municipality, so it's wonderful for them. It's certainly a change, because they used to just download the cost to us. Now they're just taking away, just taking away the revenue from us. Sorry, I diverged there a little bit on my soapbox, but I agree with you, Councillor Hutchison. It'll certainly be a hot topic at the Roma conference for rural municipalities. And I guess if I can would be allowed to make one comment. It's one of those regulations and or bills that has gone through the province, in my mind, that it's treating everybody the same and planning the development of the province of Ontario is certainly different at Red Lake than it is in Vaughan, and it's certainly different in Westgrave than it is in Nepean and Ottawa. But the province seems to throw these bills out that one thing covers everybody and the effects that it has on, the detrimental effects that it has on a lot of the province, municipalities in the province is unacceptable, but Big Brother does that to us at this point in time. We'll see how it's all implemented, I guess, going forward is a bigger question. Okay. Motion to receive. Thank you, Jamie. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconder. Councillor Townsend. Thanks, Doug. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Lord Lee. Merry Christmas. If we don't catch you until then. Oh, we'll see you around the office. Okay. That was that. Mr. Clerk, staff report. County Council representative, Jamie. Give us this one.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Eccles, this report is basically just to appoint an alternate member of County Council for the 2022-2026 term. So Section 268 of the Municipal Act permits the appointment of an alternate member of County Council, and this report is just presented to you to get that process started. I've included a nomination procedure for anyone who may be interested in being that representative. And certainly if there's more than one individual, there are steps in that procedure to follow. With that, I think I will turn it over to you. I've given you a copy of that procedure. So if you wanted to get that started, I will note that any voting for the nomination or to select the individual will not be recorded in the minutes. A seconder isn't required to nominate an individual. However, at the end, we will need a motion to appoint one individual by motion that needs to be moved and seconded.
Thank you. So, yeah, a procedure that's been at the County Council for a number of years. I believe that the last council, the council before that has, from West Grey, has appointed a person. Thankfully, I don't think it's been rarely used. So, but with that said, options here. Do I have anybody that would like to nominate somebody? Deputy Mayor Hutchison, Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, and I would nominate Councillor Doug Hutchinson to be the alternate pre-county councillor for this term. And I do look to my colleagues for support. Thank you.
Good. Go again. Is there anyone else that would like to be nominated or nominate somebody? Well, there's anybody else wants to be like to nominate, but is there anybody that would like to nominate another council member? Third time? Anybody? This is going to make the vote a little easier. Seeing none, I'll turn to Councillor Hutchison. Would you like to stand for this position?
Yes, I would accept that nomination.
Very good. All right. We have one individual nominated, Councillor Hutchison. We need a motion to accept that.
Through Mayor to members of council, the recommendation that I have is that in consideration of staff report, alternate member of County Council 2022-2026, council appoints Councillor Doug Hutchinson as West Grey's alternate member of County Council for the 2022-2026 term of council.
Very good. Someone to move that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded Councillor Townsend. Doug? Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. There is some formality, Councillor Hutchison, in that getting to the county. There's some forms, obviously forms to sign and whatnot to get you registered as that. And I believe they have a training session available as well too, if I'm not mistaken, Jamie.
Through Mayor to Councillor Hutchinson. So the next steps in this process is that I will notify the county clerk, and then after that, she will be in contact with you to go over next steps.
Thank you.
And not to say it's any bad luck, but I really hope we don't need to engage Mr. Hutchison, that Mr. Hutchison and Mr. Eccles can make it at all times.
Maybe we should put that in writing, that guarantee. Meetings.
No, I think it's just fine. It was a verbal report. Thank you very much. I think, yeah, it is what it is. Very good. All right. That one's through. That brings us down then to the interim director infrastructure. And I'm not sure that it's Sarah's report, so you're here, Brent, just to offer support or just your good looks? Okay. Sarah, you've got a couple of reports for us, and the first one is very interesting on household hazardous waste, the mobile unit. So I'm going to turn it over to you to give us the highlights. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, and through you. This staff report is being put forward for consideration to, well, there's three parts to it. So the first part would be to forego the household hazardous waste agreement between the city of Owen Sound and the municipality of West Grey for 2023. The purpose behind that would be to take all services in-house and to conduct them ourselves. The second part would be to transfer up to $35,325 from the landfill reserves to the 2022 operating budget with the purpose of starting construction on the household hazardous waste unit. The third part to this would be to go ahead with a tender to secure hauling, disposal, and recycling of the collected household hazardous waste. So having said that, I will just provide some background information. In 2019, GM Blue Plan put forward an amendment to the ministry asking if we could conduct household hazardous waste services in-house at the Bentic and Durham landfills. In 2020, we did finally receive that approval to go forward. We do have until 2025 to put this in motion, or they will remove the approval. At that point, we would then have to start the amendment process all over again.
Any questions for Sarah on this one? Councillor Townsend, Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. It talks about a 40-yard bin, and we're going to move it between the two sites. Is there a possibility of going with two 20-yard bins as opposed to one 40-yard bin, and then both sites and residents that go to both landfills have access to it the full year round?
Thank you, and through you, that would require another amendment to the ECA as it currently states one unit.
Scott?
Is there any possibility of moving it to other sites other than the two mentioned in the report, like maybe over to the Glenelg Township building or to the former Narby dump?
Thank you, and through you, that possibility is not available. This stipulates that it's just those two landfills, the Bentic and Durham, and it must transfer between the two every 90 days.
Sir, Joyce?
Oh, thank you for your presentation. I'm really glad that we're moving forward with this. Just one thing, like I know the transfer between the both sites every 3 months. Now, would they be the provider or the person that is hired once you do an RFP or tender to collect those hazardous waste products? Would they be emptied as like monthly or just as the the need is when they're full, like, I guess, like if it has to be done like on a time period that the storage isn't at the landfill sites over an extended period of time, like what's the time frame with that once it's in place?
Thank you, and through you. So outlined in the ECA requirements, it states that all waste must be moved within 90 days. At that point in time, the unit itself would be transferred to the other site. Having said that, the unit itself is able to hold 31,000 liters of household hazardous waste. So once we approach that amount, we would have to have a shipment, whether that came before the 90-day period.
Okay, anything else? Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, it's exciting news. Thank you, Sarah, for that, for this. Something we've been looking forward to for some time now. I'm just a little bit curious about the staffing implications. How does that work? Like, this is something that we really need to keep a close eye on, because contamination is going to cost us big time if we don't do it right. So what's the challenge there? Where are we at for that?
Thank you, and through you. There would be some pretty comprehensive staff training that would take place to run these, the mobile household hazardous waste unit. There would be a staff member that would be designated to ensure that we were keeping contamination down and only accepting materials within our specifications. Thank you.
So if I may follow up on that, Mayor. So that means that the hours, every hour that our landfills are open, there would be someone manned at this at the hazardous waste station, or there'd be a shared employee there, sort of thing. Sorry, not hearing.
Okay, they're talking between one another, not to you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
If I can jump in, Your Worship, Councillor Hutchison. So what we would probably do is, again, going back to staff training, we would probably ask people coming across the scales at the time if they have any hazardous waste, and then we would direct the appropriate staff to receive that material. It's not something, the site has to be, people cannot drop it off by themselves. It has to be manned. But we won't station somebody there full time. Again, it will be asked at the scale if they have any hazardous waste materials that they're going to be disposing of. And then that person or somebody will be directed over to the site to receive those materials.
Okay.
Hopefully that clarifies, it's going to be part of a training process that staff, we don't have enough staff members. I think we can handle it in-house ourselves by the number of staff that we have. I don't see this being a very similar to recycling. I don't see it being a very rigorous activity day upon day at the landfill. We might receive maybe 10 or 20 products that we receive or people bringing in materials, as opposed to recycling, which is almost every car that comes into the landfills. So again, it'd be part of a operation that we would train staff to ask at the time what people are bringing in, because they usually designate whether they've got garbage or recycling or whatever else that they have, and our staff then would take the appropriate measures at that time.
Yeah, just my concern is that we do want to make sure we monitor it very closely, because it has to be done correctly. So yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Sarah? Jump.
Thank you, and through you, not so much a question. I did fail to mention in the beginning there, and I would like just on the record that in the staff report, there is a typo, an error, where it says that the currently offered 9 days per year to 208 days per year. That is supposed to read 108 days per year. Thank you.
if we had 2 units, we'd be able to get to the 208 or so, but we only have 1. This would be kind of the best practice, if I'm not mistaken. A couple of our neighboring municipalities, probably the first one in Grey County to do it was Southgate with their operations. And yeah, it's been something that's been ongoing, but getting the approvals from the ministry have been a challenge in timing to get to where we have been here today. So I think it, on a personal basis, it's great being able to step away and offer that service as somebody that has gone to Owen Sound and sat in a vehicle for many hours on their hazardous waste, and it is hours to get through the whole lineup. No matter whether you're first in line, but to be first in line when they open at 9 o'clock in the morning, you got to be there at 6:30. So it's a 2.5 hour wait in Old Sound. So very good, and dealing with it in-house is positive. Thank you. Okay, so Jamie, you have Clerk Eckenswell, you have a motion.
Yes, through Mayor to members of council, the recommendation is that in consideration of staff report household hazardous waste mobile unit, council directs staff to 1, forego the household hazardous waste agreement for 2023 between the city of Owen Sound and the municipality of West Grey, taking all household hazardous waste disposal services in-house. 2, transfer up to $35,325 from landfill reserves to the operating budget for the construction of a household hazardous waste mobile unit. And 3, issue a tender to secure hauling, disposal and recycling of collected household hazardous waste materials.
If somebody would like to move that. Scott, Councillor Forrester, Councillor Noon, Joyce. Moved and seconded. Any further comments on the motion? I'm going to go to Councillor Noon first. Joyce?
Again, just for some clarification, I know we do get compensation for like paints and batteries, solvents, few of those materials. The items that we don't, that is the cost then to the municipality to still dispose of those in a very environmental way. So I just wanted to make known that it still would be a cost, an extra cost to the municipality to dispose of those products. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you. That is correct. So there would be funding opportunities through Product Care based on tonnage. They would reimburse us the cost of some of the materials. As for the other materials, we would have to bear the costs of those. Thank you.
It's not quite revenue neutral, but it's relatively close. Councillor Hutchison, did I see your hand up, or that was a question? No, okay. All right, no other comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Very good. Sarah, now, I think your next report is a battery supply agreement. Go ahead, tell us what we need charged, right? Yeah.
Thank you, and through you. With this report, it's just outlining that the municipality of West Grey has asked Raw Materials Company to pick up and dispose and process of our household household batteries, including car batteries. And with this, they will collect them, transport them, process them at no cost to the municipality. We will be reimbursed revenue for our car batteries and household batteries from this. So it is at no cost to the municipality. Thank you.
And in saying that it's at no cost to the municipality might be a slight revenue generator. Yeah. Good. That's excellent. I like that idea for supplying the service. Any questions on this? Councillor Townsend, Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the collection points, each of the landfills and the municipal office, is there a possibility of putting in more collection sites? Like, I'm thinking at the public work sheds or something like that to, I mean, the more containers we've got out there to gather them, the more people will participate in it. And the other comment, and it doesn't affect us too much in West Gray, but has there been any pitch to the Mennonite or Amish community on getting on board with some of these programs? I know through my other part-time life, they buy a ton of batteries. I just sold one gentleman close to 6,000 to get them through the winter. Hello. Close to 6,000 to get them through the winter. So I'm just wondering if there's any way to leverage stuff into those demographics.
Thank you, and through you. So to the first point of that, in January, we will be expanding the collection services to the municipal office as well as the arenas. We do have the freedom to add more locations that are on municipal property to collect more batteries. To the second point of that, that is definitely something that we could look into. Thank you.
If I can add an additional comment through you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to let council be careful of inviting people onto our public work sites at our yards. We have a lot of equipment and I'm just, we don't have the safety parts in place, and I'm worried that that could cause us, and I'm not trying to be negative on it. I'm just trying to, I'm wary about inviting public onto our properties that have very expensive equipment, gasoline, diesel, and that sort of thing. So I just want to make sure we put them in a strategic location, but not in a place where it, you know, I agree, arenas. I mean, everybody's going into arena, they could drop off their batteries in the pail, you know, but again, I just want to discourage inviting the public to some of our properties. If I
Thank you. Like, and just follow up on that, Brent. I'm thinking, so arenas, so we've got Newstead, we've got Ayton covered, we've got Durham covered, we've got all that. But for Glen Elg, like, is there anywhere, and maybe not the greater shed, but maybe the hall or someplace like that, there could be a container for just outside. I'm trying to think if the more access points we have people to do the recycling, the more people are going to do it. So.
good point. And I do appreciate your thought process on this is trying to improve service to the public. One of the things we do have to be careful is that wherever we put these collection points, that it's sheltered. In other words, we can't leave it outside and subjected to snow and rain and water, because then it becomes ineffective, I think, as they would probably not want to pick up those batteries. So we, you know, strategically, if you allow staff to consider, you know, Sarah and our road staff to look at possible other opportunities to look at our facilities to see what we can do to help improve that service.
Okay. Got the motion moved and seconded? No, sorry. Motion is.
This through mayor to council. So the motion is that a consideration of staff report battery supply agreement, council considers bylaw 99-2022 to execute a battery supply agreement with Raw Materials Company Incorporated for the management of used consumer type portable batteries.
Moved. Councillor Noon, second. I'll say. Okay. He's still in the meeting, he's just hiding his, yeah. Okay. Is there no question?
Forward with this term of council and some of the strategic items that we'd like to work on.
Very good. Any questions, comments? Madam CEO? Sorry, Jeff, Councillor Shea, go ahead.
Thank you.
Mayor Kevin.
So it seems like you are preparing us for some budget requests, which is fine. Sort of metrics or some way of measuring how effective we are at, say, for example, returning phone calls and those sorts of customer inquiries.
Thank you, Councillor Shea. That's an excellent question. And through you, Mr. Mayor, that is part of what we want to develop through 2023, because measuring gives us data that we know where we need to improve and where we're doing well. Mr. Hewlett is going to be working on that specifically next year. And that's going to be part of a budget request form to put in some software and some tools that we can actually do that. But at this point, we do not measure that.
Councillor Hutchins, Doug?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know, the mic seemed to be kept cutting in and out, or people were forgetting to push the buttons or something, but I didn't hear, I did have to step out for a minute, but I didn't hear anything regarding the CAO's start of her presentation, but that's fine. I just look forward to having some discussions about the whole master plan sort of thing, strategic plan, and whether we're going to continue on with this plan and where we go with it, and given that we have other plans in place. So look forward to further discussion. Lots of things on the go. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Doug. If there's no other questions, receive for information. Need a motion to receive the CEO's report. You see your hand up, Doug, or were you just scratching your nose? Yep, okay, here he is. Further, do you want to move the motion to receive the CEO's report? I'll get you in the minutes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. That was hard. Seconded by Councillor Forrester. Scott? Any further comments on the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Brings us down to number 12, questions. Procedural bylaw members may request clarification or updates on previous agenda items. Any questions or comments? Councillor Noon, Joyce?
Mine's more of a comment than a question. I just wanted to recognize that the hazardous waste and the battery programs are in going, and I'm really pleased that the municipality is moving forward with more diversion from our landfill sites. A step in the right direction. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Joyce. Anything else? Questions? Oh, okay. Everybody's doing good.
Sorry, Mayor, I did have a question. I'm just trying to get all my buttons going.
Okay, go ahead. No, certainly. Yep, Councillor Hodgson. Doug?
I just want to put it out there that we did have a little issue with our lights on the bridge in downtown Durham. We did have some nice strung lights, but have disappeared. And so I want to put it out there that the community knows. I'm a little curious how that happened without somebody seeing something. But we are missing some our lights from the bridge, and they, according to Mr. Hewitt, that we're not going to be able to replace them this year because they obviously are expensive. So I haven't seen anything. I've been sort of watching Facebook and whatnot. I thought maybe it would have been nice to just put something out there, say, did anyone notice that somebody took them down? And people might have seen someone taking them down, think, well, Public Works, why are they taking them down? And now they're gone. So anyways, it's discouraging that we put money into decorating and then they disappear. So just wanted to put that out there that if anybody has information, I'm sure the police would love to hear from you. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. I do know that our police are doing some investigation on it, and kind of further to that, cameras may be placed in the area to objectively take a look at those types of people, because we have had some vandalism down there. Some spray painting on a couple of places, and in discussion with the Lions Club that some of those activities may soon be on a camera near you. I'll just leave it there at that. But yeah, the police certainly are doing the investigation and trying to figure it out as well too. Disappointing in the Christmas season. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, very good. Bylaws. And that brings us down to, Amy, move forward to bylaw number 99.
Through Mayor, terms of council, bylaw number 99 is to confirm the proceedings of council, and the recommendation is that bylaw 99-2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Someone want to move bylaw? Councillor Shea, Councillor Townsend? Jeff, Doug? Any questions on that bylaw? Councillor Shea.
To the clerk, it was explained to me one time that this item is not the last item on the agenda and that it's actually referring to the previous meeting. Is that your understanding? Oh, sorry.
It's through Mayor to Councillor Shea. So this bylaw was drafted to confirm the proceedings of this council meeting. So it doesn't really matter where on the agenda it's placed because it's confirming the proceedings of the meeting held on December 20th. So whether we did it at the beginning of the meeting or at the end, that's irrelevant. But the fact is that it's on the agenda and it's to confirm the proceedings that we've done today. So.
Okay. Motion is in front of us to pass bylaw. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Very good. Second one, bylaw number 100, battery supply agreement between the municipality of West Grey and Raw Materials Company Incorporated. So we have that one. Mr. Clerk. Need a new battery for that laptop there?
I think I might. Through Mayor, so the recommendation is that bylaw number 100-2022 being a bylaw to approve and authorize the execution of a battery supply agreement between the municipality of West Gray and Raw Materials Company Incorporated be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Good. Have a motion to move that. Moved by Councillor Noon, second by Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Any questions on the bylaw? Councillor Shay. Jeff?
Again, to the clerk, I know that there's an order to our agenda and things are broken down into categories, but it's always perplexed me why, if a staff report recommends passing a bylaw, the bylaw is not just passed at that point in the agenda. This is particularly an issue if it's a very contentious issue and the public is tuning in, and maybe there's camps on both sides and they want to hear the report and then they want to hear how the decision, and sometimes that decision can be hours after the report. Is there any reason we can't lump the bylaws together with the staff reports when they're directly linked?
Through Mayor to Councillor Shay, that is something that we could look into moving forward. The other thing that I will note is that council has a prerogative to move items up on the agenda if that's the will of council or the wish of council. So if there is something contentious and it looks like a heavy agenda, council certainly could consider the bylaw after the report if that was the wish of council.
Good. Motion's been moved, seconded. That's bylaw number 100. There's no further questions. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Got two of them out of the way. 101, Joint Health and Safety Committee appointments. Let's go through this one with us.
Certainly.
Mr. Clerk.
Through Mayor, the recommendation is that bylaw 101-2022 being a bylaw to appoint a joint health and safety committee for the corporation of the municipality of West Gray be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Somebody want to move? Moved by Councillor Forrester. Scott, second by Councillor Hutchison. Doug? And any further comments on this? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Very good. Delegated site plan control approval. This one, bylaw 102, would have been a follow-up from a presentation by Planner Spencer. And Jamie, want to introduce it?
Thank you, Mayor. The recommendation is that bylaw number 102-2022 being a bylaw to delegate site plan control approval be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Have a mover? Deputy Mayor Hutchison, Councillor Townsend, Doug? Any further comments? Councillor Shay. Jeff?
I don't understand the phrase delegated to the clerk or CAO and chief building official or planner. Like it's a bunch of ors and ands. Does that mean it requires two people, either the clerk or CAO? And so it does require two people. Okay, good. Thank you.
And just for clarification, this is out of our hands. Thank you, Councillor Townsend. And the legislation has just said, no, council shall not do this anymore. It's got to be staff. So, okay. Any further questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. New business. That's it for bylaws. Very good. New business. No, nothing on new business. Announcements? Anybody want to announce anything? Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to wish all the residents of West Gray a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And special consideration to all the people that are working this weekend that could be moving a lot of snow and dealing with a lot of issues. And also special consideration to the folks at the West Gray Police Service, who a year ago in the state had their world turned upside down. And hopefully in the next month here, we can get things rectified on that front too. So other than that, a Merry Christmas to everyone.
Anyone else? Just kind of a public announcement, and maybe we can get it out on the website. It might even be there. The Ayton Firemen's Association does their annual New Year's Day breakfast at the fire hall, annual event that they have. Slightly different, I think, this year because they were looking for kind of an indication of how many people they were going to have. So they were selling tickets pre-event. It used to be just come, but so any of those individuals that after New Year's Eve and you just can't make those fresh cracked eggs into the frying pan or bacon and whatnot, it's all there for you at the fire hall on New Year's Day. But tickets were being sold in advance of that, from what I understand. So just that little announcement for those individuals. And it runs from 9 until 1. If you've been up a long time on New Year's Eve, you can still get breakfast till 1 o'clock. The bacon might be crisp by that time, but just saying. Okay, if there's nothing else, then we're done with announcements. We do have a closed session. And that I made a motion to move into closed session. The Council of Municipality of West Gray is now going to closed session to consider one matter regarding personal matters about identifiable individuals respecting public appointments to boards. Motion to move. Councillor Forster Scott, seconder. Councillor Hutchison. Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Staff, yeah, before we go in, I may take just a slight little break for 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Before you do that, Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm a little curious how this is going to work, given that we normally don't use microphones and recording. So, I mean, if I had to, I could come in for this if that's requested. Just wear a mask, but
the technicalities of it, I'll leave to Cody. I think we've got that covered, but go ahead, Cody.
If I may, through you, Mr. Mayor, councillors who are in the room will be able to continue using the mic, as well as yourself, Councillor Hutchinson. You can remain remote. You'll just have to bear with me a few moments while I move members of the public who are in the meeting into the waiting room, and then they will not be able to access or hear any of the goings on.
okay, that would work. Thanks.
Okay, call the meeting back to order. We are in closed session. Everybody understands that. Dealing with the selection or appointment of public appointees. The first one is the West Gray Police Services. Oh, sorry, right. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Gentleman, reach now. Doug?
Just curious, we don't have agenda in front of us, right?
Go ahead, I'll let you answer that one.
Through Mayor to Councillor Hutchinson, there is a physical package here. Nothing was sent out in advance of the meeting. Because it's closed material. So unfortunately, I don't have anything to provide you with at this time. Certainly that, yes, Madam CAO just mentioned that we can walk you through the names when we get to that point.
In the sense of time, and yeah, that shouldn't be the factor here. I think if we go through these and do a good explanation for